I reduced my joint pain by approximately 70% and improved my skin elasticity measurements in just 90 days using a single, inexpensive intervention that most physicians never discuss. My fasting insulin dropped from 8.2 to 5.1 micro-IU milliliter. My sleep efficiency improved from 78% to 89%, and my hair thickness increased measurably, all from adding one compound to my daily regimen. I'm a genetics professor at a research institution where I study metabolic regulation and aging biology. For the past 3 decades, I've investigated how specific nutritional interventions influence cellular repair mechanisms, collagen synthesis pathways, and longevity markers. Today, I'm sharing the precise protocol I followed using gelatin, a substance our grandparents consumed regularly, but modern diets have almost entirely eliminated. What I discovered in my research laboratory and confirmed through my own biomarker tracking will fundamentally change how you think about this overlooked protein source. I'll explain the 7 mechanisms through which gelatin transforms health after age 50, provide exact dosages and timing protocols, and share my measured results with specific before and after numbers. Mechanism number 1, the glycine deficiency crisis. The first mechanism involves addressing what I consider the most underappreciated nutritional deficiency affecting adults over 50: glycine insufficiency. Glycine is a conditionally essential amino acid, meaning our bodies can synthesize it. But here's the critical finding that changed my understanding entirely. Research published in the Journal of Biological Chemistry demonstrates that endogenous glycine synthesis produces only approximately 3 grams daily, while our metabolic requirements exceed 10 to 15 grams. This creates a chronic deficit of 7 to 12 grams daily that accumulates over decades. Glycine serves as the rate-limiting substrate for glutathione synthesis, the master antioxidant protecting every cell from oxidative damage. When glycine becomes scarce, glutathione production declines, mitochondrial function deteriorates, and cellular aging accelerates exponentially. The biochemistry operates through the following pathway. Glycine combines with cysteine and glutamate via gamma-glutamyl cysteine synthetase to form glutathione. Without adequate glycine, this pathway bottlenecks, regardless of cysteine availability. Studies in cell metabolism demonstrate that glycine supplementation increases glutathione levels by 200 to 300% in older adults, a finding I replicated in my own measurements. Gelatin contains approximately 27% glycine by weight, the highest concentration of any food source. A single tablespoon of gelatin powder provides roughly 3 grams of glycine, addressing nearly half the daily deficit from one serving. My protocol involves consuming 20 grams of grass-fed gelatin powder daily, divided into 2 10-gram doses. This provides approximately 5.4 grams of glycine, which, combined with dietary protein intake, eliminates my glycine deficit entirely. Within 30 days, my gamma-glutamyl transferase, a marker of glutathione status, improved from 38 UL to 24 UL, indicating substantially enhanced antioxidant capacity. Mechanism number 2, collagen synthesis restoration. The second mechanism addresses why skin, joints, tendons, and bones deteriorate so dramatically after age 50: declining collagen synthesis capacity. Collagen constitutes approximately 30% of total body protein and provides structural integrity to virtually every tissue. However, collagen production decreases approximately 1 to 1.5% annually after age 30. By age 50, cumulative collagen loss reaches 20 to 30%, manifesting as wrinkled skin, joint degradation, weakened tendons, and reduced bone density. The molecular mechanism involves fibroblast activity. Fibroblasts are the cells responsible for synthesizing collagen, and their productivity depends entirely on amino acid substrate availability, specifically glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. These three amino acids comprise over 50% of the collagen molecule, but exist in minimal quantities in muscle meat. Here's the critical insight from my research. Consuming collagen-derived amino acids provides direct substrate for collagen synthesis pathways. Studies published in Skin Pharmacology and Physiology demonstrate that oral gelatin consumption increases procollagen synthesis in human dermal fibroblasts by 65% within 8 weeks. The hydroxyproline and hydroxylysine in gelatin serve as unique signaling molecules that upregulate collagen gene expression via fibroblast growth factor pathways. Modern diets create a structural protein deficit because we consume primarily muscle meat, which provides abundant leucine, isoleucine, and valine, but minimal glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. Our ancestors consumed the entire animal, including skin, tendons, and bones, which naturally provided balanced amino acid profiles. Gelatin restores this ancestral ratio. My implementation involves consuming gelatin both as dissolved powder and as homemade bone broth. I dissolve 10 grams of gelatin powder in my morning coffee, which creates a silky texture without affecting taste, and consume 8 to 12 ounces of slow-cooked bone broth with my evening meal. My skin elasticity measurements using a cutometer improved by 23% over 90 days. Joint crepitus, the grinding sensation in my knees during movement, decreased substantially, and my physical therapist documented improved range of motion in both shoulders. Mechanism number 3, gut barrier restoration. The third mechanism involves one of the most consequential yet overlooked aspects of aging: intestinal permeability, commonly termed leaky gut. The intestinal epithelium comprises a single layer of cells held together by tight junction proteins, including occludin, claudins, and zonula occludens. When these tight junctions become compromised, partially digested food particles, bacterial endotoxins, lipopolysaccharides, and inflammatory compounds enter the bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation that accelerates every aspect of biological aging. Research published in Clinical Gastroenterology and Hepatology demonstrates that intestinal permeability increases significantly with age, correlating with elevated inflammatory markers, insulin resistance, cognitive decline, and cardiovascular disease progression. The gut barrier essentially becomes a source of chronic immune activation. Gelatin provides direct structural support to the intestinal lining through several mechanisms. First, glycine protects against gastric ulceration by stimulating gastric acid secretion while simultaneously coating the mucosal layer. Second, glutamine, derived from gelatin's glutamic acid content, serves as the primary fuel source for enterocytes, the cells lining the intestinal tract. Third, the unique amino acid profile supports mucin production, which maintains the protective mucus layer. A landmark study in the Journal of Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition found that gelatin supplementation reduced intestinal permeability markers by 44% in subjects with compromised gut function. The mechanism involves upregulation of tight junction protein expression through AMPK-mediated pathways. I noticed the gut healing effects within approximately 2 weeks of beginning my protocol. My post-meal bloating, which I'd accepted as normal, resolved almost completely. My bowel regularity improved, and my hs-CRP, high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, a marker of systemic inflammation, decreased from 2.8 milligrams per liter to 0.9 milligrams per liter over 90 days. Mechanism number 4, sleep architecture optimization. The fourth mechanism addresses a critical challenge affecting virtually everyone over 50, declining sleep quality, and particularly the loss of deep restorative sleep phases. Sleep architecture refers to the cyclical pattern of sleep stages, including light sleep, deep slow-wave sleep, and REM sleep. Deep sleep is when approximately 80% of growth hormone secretion occurs. Growth hormone being profoundly lipolytic, fat-burning, anabolic, muscle-building, and regenerative. After age 50, Deep sleep duration typically decreases by 60 to 70% compared to young adulthood, contributing to accelerated aging, cognitive decline, and metabolic dysfunction. Glycine, the predominant amino acid in gelatin, functions as an inhibitory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system. Research published in Sleep and Biological Rhythms demonstrates that 3 grams of glycine taken before bed decreases core body temperature through peripheral vasodilation, accelerates sleep onset, and increases time spent in deep, slow-wave sleep by 50 to 60%. The mechanism involves glycine's action on NMDA receptors in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the brain region controlling circadian rhythms, and on glycine receptors in the hypothalamus that regulate thermoregulation. Lower core body temperature is essential for sleep initiation and maintenance. Glycine facilitates this cooling effect by promoting blood flow to peripheral tissues, hands and feet, where heat dissipates. My sleep optimization protocol involves consuming 10 grams of gelatin dissolved in warm water approximately 45 minutes before bed. This provides roughly 2.7 grams of glycine, approaching the therapeutic threshold identified in clinical research. Using my sleep tracking device, I documented the following changes. Sleep onset latency decreased from 28 minutes to 11 minutes. Deep sleep duration increased from 47 minutes to 86 minutes nightly. And sleep efficiency, time asleep divided by time in bed, improved from 78% to 89%. Subjectively, I wake feeling substantially more restored, and my afternoon energy fluctuations have largely resolved. Mechanism number 5, metabolic and insulin optimization. The 5th mechanism involves gelatin's profound effects on metabolic regulation, particularly insulin sensitivity and glucose homeostasis. Insulin is the body's primary metabolic hormone, functioning as an energy sensor and storage signal. When insulin remains chronically elevated, as occurs with frequent eating, refined carbohydrate consumption, and sedentary behavior, fat storage becomes the default metabolic state. The body cannot access stored body fat for energy while insulin remains elevated. It's biochemically impossible. Glycine enhances insulin sensitivity through multiple pathways. First, glycine stimulates glucagon-like peptide 1, GLP-1, secretion from intestinal L cells. GLP-1 is the same target of medications like semaglutide. It enhances insulin secretion, suppresses appetite, and slows gastric emptying. Second, glycine reduces hepatic glucose output by suppressing gluconeogenic enzymes in the liver. Third, glycine protects pancreatic beta cells from oxidative damage, preserving long-term insulin production capacity. Research published in Diabetes Care demonstrated that glycine supplementation reduced HbA1c, a measure of average blood glucose over 3 months, by 0.5% in individuals with metabolic syndrome, a clinically meaningful reduction achieved without pharmaceutical intervention. My metabolic measurements confirmed these findings. My fasting insulin dropped from 8.2 micro-UIU milliliters to 5.1 micro-UIU milliliters over 90 days, a 38% improvement indicating substantially enhanced insulin sensitivity. My HOMA-IR score, a calculation combining fasting glucose and insulin to estimate insulin resistance, improved from 1.9 to 1.1, placing me well within the optimal range. My triglyceride to HDL ratio, which I consider the most important cardiovascular risk marker, decreased from 2.4 to 1.6. Mechanism number 6, joint and connective tissue regeneration. The 6th mechanism addresses one of the most debilitating consequences of aging: progressive joint deterioration and the chronic pain that accompanies it. Articular cartilage, the smooth tissue covering bone surfaces within joints, consists primarily of type 2 collagen and proteoglycans. Unlike most tissues, cartilage lacks blood supply and relies entirely on synovial fluid diffusion for nutrient delivery. This makes cartilage uniquely vulnerable to degradation and exceptionally slow to repair. After age 50, cartilage degradation typically exceeds synthesis. leading to progressive joint space narrowing, bone-on-bone contact, inflammation, and the constellation of symptoms termed osteoarthritis. Conventional medicine offers primarily symptom management, NSAIDs, cortisone injections, rather than regenerative solutions. Gelatin provides the precise amino acid profile required for cartilage maintenance and repair. Research published in Current Medical Research and Opinion demonstrated that gelatin hydrolysate supplementation accumulated preferentially in cartilage tissue. The collagen-derived peptides are absorbed intact and concentrate in joint structures rather than being randomly distributed throughout the body. The mechanism involves both substrate provision and signaling effects. Collagen peptides from gelatin stimulate chondrocytes, cartilage-producing cells, to increase type II collagen and proteoglycan synthesis. Studies in osteoarthritis and cartilage documented 25 to 30% improvements in joint comfort scores after 24 weeks of gelatin supplementation. I experienced significant joint improvements within 60 days of beginning my protocol. The chronic right knee discomfort I'd experienced since my 40s, particularly when ascending stairs, reduced by approximately 70%. My grip strength, which I track as a longevity biomarker, improved from 38 kilograms to 44 kilograms on my dominant hand, suggesting enhanced tendon and connective tissue integrity. Mechanism 7. Hair, nail, and tissue integrity. The seventh mechanism addresses the visible manifestations of collagen decline that most profoundly affect quality of life. Deteriorating hair thickness, nail brittleness, and skin texture changes. These cosmetic concerns reflect deeper physiological processes. Hair follicles are surrounded by collagen sheaths that provide structural support and nutrient delivery. When collagen synthesis declines, follicle microenvironment deteriorates, hair diameter decreases, and growth cycles shorten. Similarly, nail matrix cells require adequate amino acid substrate for keratin production. Collagen-derived amino acids directly support this process. Research, published in Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology, demonstrated that collagen peptide supplementation increased hair thickness by 30% and nail growth rate by 12% over 24 weeks. The mechanism involves providing direct substrate for keratinocyte function, while simultaneously improving microcirculation to follicles and nail beds through improved endothelial function. The proline and hydroxyproline in gelatin are particularly important for hair structure. Hair keratin contains significant proline content, and adequate dietary provision supports optimal synthesis. Additionally, glycine's anti-inflammatory effects reduce follicle miniaturization caused by inflammatory cytokines, a primary mechanism of age-related hair thinning. My personal observations align with the research. My hairdresser commented that my hair appeared notably thicker at my 90-day appointment. Before I mentioned my gelatin protocol, my nails, which previously split and broke frequently, now grow longer without brittleness. The skin on my hands and forearms, which had developed the crepe paper texture characteristic of collagen loss, appears measurably firmer. My complete daily protocol. I've refined my gelatin protocol over the past year through systematic experimentation and biomarker tracking. Here is my exact implementation. Morning, 6 o'clock a.m., 10 grams grass-fed gelatin powder dissolved in coffee. The coffee should be hot enough to fully dissolve the gelatin, but can be consumed at any temperature afterward. This provides approximately 2.7 grams of glycine to begin addressing the daily deficit. Afternoon, 1 p.m., 8 to 12 ounces of homemade bone broth. I prepare this in weekly batches using grass-fed beef bones, chicken feet, extremely high in collagen, and vegetable aromatics. Slow cooked for 24 to 48 hours to maximize collagen extraction. Evening, 9 p.m., approximately 45 minutes before bed. 10 grams grass-fed gelatin powder dissolved in warm water with a squeeze of lemon. This serves as my sleep optimization dose, providing glycine for neurotransmitter function. Weekly preparation. I prepare 2 to 3 liters of bone broth every Sunday. I purchase high-quality gelatin powder in bulk, grass-fed, tested for heavy metals. Total daily gelatin intake, approximately 30 to 35 grams from powder and broth combined. Quality specifications. Grass-fed, pasture-raised gelatin only. Conventional gelatin may contain antibiotic residues. Third-party tested for heavy metals. Lead accumulates in bones. Unflavored, unsweetened powder, without additives. Beef or pork gelatin. Fish gelatin has different gelling properties. My measured results, 90-day tracking. Metabolic markers. Fasting insulin, 8.2 to 5.1 micro-EU milliliter, 38% improvement. Fasting glucose, 98 to 89 milligrams DL. HOMA-IR, 1.1, 42% improvement. Triglycerides, 142 to 98 milligrams DL. Triglyceride HDL ratio, 2.4 to 1.6. Inflammatory markers, hs-CRP, 2.8 to 0.9 milligrams L, 68% improvement. Gamma-glutamyl transferase, 38 to 24 UL. Body composition, weight, 187 to 181 pounds. Modest loss, not primary goal. Waist circumference, 36.5 to 35.0 inches. Functional markers. Grip strength, dominant hand, 38 to 44 kilograms. Joint pain score, self-reported 1 to 10, 6 to 2. Sleep efficiency, 78% to 89%. Deep sleep duration, 47 to 86 minutes nightly. Visible changes. Hair thickness measurably improved per hairdresser assessment. Nail strength, ceased frequent breaking, splitting. Skin elasticity, 23% improvement on cutometer measurement. Facial wrinkle depth, subjectively reduced, awaiting formal measurement. Questions I frequently encounter. Q. Can I use collagen peptides instead of gelatin? A. Collagen peptides, hydrolyzed collagen, and gelatin derive from identical source material. They're both processed collagen protein. The difference involves molecular weight. Collagen peptides are enzymatically broken into smaller fragments that dissolve in cold liquid without gelling. I use both interchangeably. The amino acid profiles are virtually identical, providing equivalent glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. Collagen peptides offer convenience, cold dissolution, while whole gelatin provides the additional benefit of gel-forming capability for culinary applications. Q. How long before I notice results? A. Based on my experience and the research literature, the timeline follows this approximate pattern. Sleep improvements emerge within 7 to 14 days as glycine accumulates in neural tissue. Gut barrier improvements become noticeable within 2 to 4 weeks as enterocyte turnover occurs. Joint comfort improvements require 6 to 12 weeks as cartilage turnover is slow. Skin, hair, and nail improvements require 8 to 16 weeks due to the growth cycle duration of these tissues. Metabolic marker improvements appear in blood work at the 8 to 12 week mark. Q. Are there any contraindications or concerns? A. Gelatin is remarkably safe with an extensive history of human consumption. However, individuals with histamine intolerance may react to bone broth. Histidine converts to histamine during long cooking. Those with phenylketonuria should monitor phenylalanine intake. I recommend starting with 10 grams daily and increasing gradually to assess tolerance. Individuals taking blood-thinning medications should consult their physician, as glycine may have mild anticoagulant effects at high doses. Q. What about vegetarian or vegan alternatives? A. Unfortunately, no plant-based equivalent exists. Gelatin is uniquely derived from animal collagen, and the specific amino acid profile, particularly the hydroxyproline content, cannot be replicated from plant sources. Vegetarians may consider glycine supplementation alone, available in pure powder form, to capture some benefits, but this misses the proline, hydroxyproline, and hydroxylysine that contribute to collagen synthesis signaling. Question: does cooking temperature matter? A. For dissolution, gelatin requires temperatures above approximately 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Celsius, to fully dissolve. However, the amino acids themselves are heat stable and won't be damaged by boiling temperatures. I dissolve gelatin in hot coffee or warm water, then consume at any temperature. Bone broth simmered for extended periods provides equivalent benefits despite prolonged heat exposure. The 7 mechanisms I've outlined represent a comprehensive intervention addressing multiple aging pathways simultaneously. Glycine repletion, restoring glutathione synthesis. Collagen substrate provision, supporting structural protein maintenance. Gut barrier enhancement, reducing systemic inflammation. Sleep architecture optimization via neurotransmitter modulation. Metabolic improvement through insulin sensitization. Joint regeneration through chondrocyte stimulation. And visible tissue enhancement, reflecting deeper physiological restoration. My measured results: 38% improvement in insulin sensitivity, 68% reduction in inflammatory markers, 89% sleep efficiency, and 70% reduction in joint discomfort demonstrate the transformative potential of this single, inexpensive, accessible intervention. I'm a genetics professor who has studied aging biology for 3 decades. The research supporting gelatin supplementation is robust. The mechanisms are well characterized, and my personal implementation confirms the expected physiological responses. This represents one of the highest impact interventions available for health optimization after age 50. Your biological systems retain remarkable capacity for regeneration and repair when provided appropriate substrate and signaling. The collagen deficit created by modern diets is correctable. The glycine insufficiency accelerating your aging is addressable. The structural protein decline affecting your joints, skin, and tissues is reversible, not through pharmaceutical intervention, but through the simple restoration of nutrients our ancestors consumed regularly. I encourage you to implement this protocol systematically, track your own biomarkers, and experience the transformation I've documented in my own measurements.